Lee Jun-lee and Ethan Embry find their small town targeted by a mysterious and murderous beast in Alma and the Wolf. Hailing from Oregon Trail director Michael Patrick Jann, the movie is a mix of psychological thriller, body horror, and fantasy horror, revolving around a deputy in a coastal Oregon town who begins searching for a wolf believed to be behind the deaths of some local pets and disappearance of a few people. As he continues his investigation, though, he finds himself falling down a rabbit hole of increasingly surreal situations. Embry, well known for everything from his child acting years to cult favorite Can't Hardly Wait and Grace and Frankie, stars as Ren, the central deputy whose life is in a downward spiral as he struggles to spend time with his teenage son, while also vying to land the lieutenant's position in his department. Lee, meanwhile, stars as the titular Alma, a free-spirited woman whom the town largely ignores, and who draws Ren into her orbit when her dog becomes a victim of the wolf. Alongside Lee and Embry, the cast of the film includes Legion's Jeremy Harris, Oregon Trail's Lucas Jan, and the state's Kevin Allison. Ahead of the movie's release, Screen Rant interviewed Ethan Embry, Lee Jun-lee, and Michael Patrick Jann to discuss Alma and the Wolf. The stars discussed their characters' intricate arcs throughout the film and their experience working with the practical effects on the project, while the director discussed casting Embry as his protagonist and finding an effective mix in the movie's varying genres. Lee also reflected on Sinner's success and how it came as a surprise to her and the rest of the movie's team, with the movie featuring everything from a father trying to do better by his son to missing people and the ominous presence of a hulking wolf lurking. Alma and the Wolf proves to be the ultimate mix of genres. Jann recalls being instantly drawn by the psychological truth at the heart of Abigail Miller's script, as well as the idea of narrative that it presented through its characters. The director went on to explain said idea as coming from one of the basic qualities of being a human being, in which people create stories about who you are and who you are in the world and what the world around you is like. You portray yourself as the hero or the victim or the loved one, Jann explained. There are all sorts of parts that you create for yourself, and this is a movie that was dealing with, in a horror context, that sort of narrative function, and I really liked that about it. One of the other major aspects of Alma and the Wolf that Jann was intrigued by was the opportunity to work within multiple horror subgenres, feeling that I don't necessarily want to make one horror movie, but instead he wanted to make them all. The director went on to describe how he sought to mix everything from folk horror to body horror, monster movies, witch movies, horror comedies, misty forest thrillers, and a pretty healthy dose of John Carpenter, which are all meant to lend to the movie's unpredictability. Hopefully, this movie indulges in all of those genres and is shamelessly moving back and forth between, it's this kind of movie? No, it's that kind of movie. No, it's this kind of movie, Jann expressed. And it can kind of keep you guessing. But in addition to being able to indulge in the pleasures of all of those different genres and have fun both shooting them and creating them, and also watching them, it also, in the last 20 minutes, has a reason why. It's able to take all of those things, and the experience of watching this for an audience can be a little like, wait, whoa, okay, I didn't expect that. But at a certain point, I definitely want to leave the audience with like, oh, see, now I get it. Jann went on to express his excitement at the movie's final 20 minutes, denoting how the mystery of it all unravels and ties into how a horror movie is about making palatable the unpalatable. Though keeping the movie's final twist to himself, the director explained how the movie was trying to bring you past the amelioration of a regular horror movie and subsequently into the experience of true horror, in which a character has truly gone mad, which therefore explains the mix of horror genres. With Ren being a well-meaning, yet very flawed, central character, it makes him a very complicated protagonist for us to follow.